So welcome to all the classic car enthusiasts. We're here with our Dave Jaguar t-shirts trying to promote our videos. So we went all the way to Hartberg and eventually, what was the name of the place? It was a place near Hartberg. Anyway, we went there and we drove around for ages and we couldn't find it, so we ended up
going to circle.
We went in a big circle right round there. We couldn't find it. We did see a couple of Lamborghinis go past and a few Porsches, but the place wasn't signposted or anything, so we're quite disappointed. But I drove there and he drove back, and we went and stopped and had a coffee, and the car ran nice. So yeah, unfortunately, no videos of supercars. I'm afraid it's going to be old timers next time. Maybe next year we'll find it. I don't know. There is a local meet I can take you to, like I did show a few months back. So anyway, we had a drive, Sunday morning drive. The streets were empty.
Weather is good.
The weather's good. Can't ask for more than that. So it's back in the workshop, then. We'll have a cup of tea, something to eat. Back in the workshop, get after it, and then we move. Yeah. All right. Well, welcome to all the classic car enthusiasts. Just wanted to show you what we're up to. So this spigot shaft here is all now tidied up and cleaned up, and we can see that that's going to fit very nicely. As I said, this is from the bottom of the steering shaft from an E-type. So it's all cleaned up, the spigot bearings all cleaned up. I put some grease in it so it's easier to push in. And what I've done now is I've taped this. I don't want to teach you the sarcasm, but it's fairly obvious which way the friction plate goes on. It has to go on with the springs to the back. Obviously it won't sit up against the flywheel otherwise. But obviously if you try to put it on that way, you can see it won't fit in. So it's a bit obvious, but you never know. I'm sure plenty of people have done it. So I've made it now, so it's got this, alright, don't bit with the light. And you can see that's a pretty good fit. That there's very little movement in it. Time we put the pressure plate on. Now this pressure plate has been balanced. There's a balance on it, and you can see where the number is here, where it's been balanced, and there's a balance weight there on it. It's just weld, but it's to stop it having any vibration on it. You can just see there, and there's the number for it, which is down here. So the good thing about YouTube is there's always a lot of comments and suggestions and things, which is really good news. This is what it's all about. And George Knapp, who we all know, George Knapp and Haley, his wife, he was talking about when you've got a situation like this where you've got like a blind bearing. This is not a bearing as such. This is more like a lay shaft, if you like. It's actually holding the spigot shaft itself central. But if you needed to get this out, I was talking about grease and bolts the other day, and a couple of people mentioned, one guy, I've forgotten his name now, but he was talking about, I was talking about the hydraulic locking on a bolt. When you put a bolt in, if you've got a blind end where it's solid, if you put the bolt in, you can hydraulically lock it. That tends to be with bigger bolts. But what he mentioned, which is a fair point I want to pass on, is if you're doing that in a bell housing where it's a blind stop in it, you could actually crack whatever it is you're doing. That you could crack the housing or the casting itself, because they're quite light on cars. So the hydraulic force you put against that could be enough to shatter it. It's a good point that I wanted to pass over to you. So that was well brought up. But George and George Knapp and a guy it's called Sharky 09000, and they were talking about getting these blind bearings out, or any bearing, anything, in a motor, whatever. And if you go and have a look on my site and go to Sharky, he's got a website of a guy in America where he's taken one out of an old drill by using grease, which is the basic hydraulic principle of filling a blind box with grease and then using wadding, and then a shaft like that to push down on the wadding to put enough grease behind it to hydraulically lift the bearing back out. Very easy thing to do, but very clever. So yeah, so what we'll do now is we'll settle this back up, and then I'll put on the camera, and we'll try and fit it in. So there we go for now. So just a couple of things. Oh, the last one was, there was a guy, Pierce from Ireland, said, I noticed you have a wood lathe upstairs, which I do, because I do woodwork as well, not so much at the moment. And he said, well, why don't you just turn down a shaft? That's a good idea. You could easily do that. You could easily get an old broom handle and turn this down to the right tolerance with a set of vernier gauge, and you could actually work out what size you needed to make it exactly right, so it would fit in that spigot and in there, which is something I never thought about, but it's a good idea. So thanks for that, Pierce. So that's it. I will bring you back when we're doing the next bit. Right. So for those watching in, everything's set up. Just a quick tip on these: when you're putting these pressure plates on, when you bolt them up, tighten them down a bit at a time, like a cylinder head. Just tighten down a bit at a time so you don't damage the friction plate when you put it on. Pull them down flat. Just a simple tip. I mean, these videos are made to help people, not to be an expert. So we're going to give it a go, and hopefully she'll slide in. So here we go. So okay. You just turn that. Yeah. Okay. That's the way. Still doesn't want it. Yeah. That's it. She's in. Yeehaw! I'll just get one bolt in. Yeah, I've got it on that. What is it? I'll put it here. Oh, it's 9/16, which this is 1/2 inch, I bet. Yes, it is. Just a second. 9/16. All the way. That slid in quite nice, that, didn't it? Is that right on?
One more here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's that. Them studs are in on that side. Can you just move it across that way? Studs in here. I think it'll pull it in. Hang on. I'll have to. And put one there. You get one on that side?
No. It's not just.
That should snug it out.
Yeah.
Take this back out, put washing on in a minute. Look at that, lovely. That's fine. Don't hang anywhere, I don't think that move it. I've got to put some washers, new washers here. That's it.
Okay.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this back out individually and clean them, I think. How's it sitting on that floor?
Good. Everything straight.
Lined up?
Good, yeah. Then you can.
Okay, so. Out of gear. Locked. That's it. So we're done.